Hi everyone, I'm Kat Lazo, also known as the Cat's Meow, and welcome to another episode of Engage by Uplift. I'm here with Peter Musser.
Hey everybody.
Rhiannon McGavin.
Hi.
And Mary Kate Wiles.
Hello.
So, today we're going to be deconstructing rape culture.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that one way that rape culture spreads is through fear, right? Through watch your drink, don't walk alone, don't wear this, don't wear that. How effective are these messages in preventing rape?
Well, the main message that I always get from those, it's not so much about protecting me, it's making sure that the hypothetical rapist gets the other girl.
It kind of tells me that it's like something we can't combat.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you do? Like, of course, anytime I'm alone at night, I'm scared. You know what I mean? I can't just say like, well, I shouldn't be scared because we should live in a society where people don't rape.
Yeah.
Which, yes, we should, but we don't.
A lot of that really perpetuates this myth of the person who's going to be your sexual assaulter is going to be somebody who's on the street that you've never met before.
Yes.
When statistically speaking, the majority of the time it is somebody the victim, the survivor knows.
So where are we getting these skewed messages that, you know, it's the scary person in an alleyway?
Movies.
Movies. Yeah, media.
Movies, yeah.
Media.
The news especially?
Yeah.
Right? It's always like, oh, this person on the street did that, and like they came out of nowhere and it was late at night. And I think to myself, I'm like, wow, but this isn't the majority, right?
I don't know, it took a long time for me to sort of realize what consent truly meant. Like, you know, like we all know, like, oh, like, you know, rape is this bad thing, but I don't think people realize that you can be raped by someone that you are maybe in a relationship with or whatever, because we're just not educating people in this way.
How can combating gender roles also combat rape culture?
I am totally on board with the idea that how we do gender roles in our culture, and in a lot of cultures, is super destructive. And in like 80% of the time, pardon my language, total bullshit.
Like, rape culture affects everyone living in the rape culture. Like, no one escapes unscathed.
Yeah, and I think rape culture, we call it that, and it's not just that, because it's part of the bigger picture of like misogyny and the need for having a strong feminist movement in our society is what, like rape is the end product of this rape culture. It's the terrible negative, but it ties in with things like boys can't be who they are, boys can't express themselves, they have to wear certain colors, they have to put up a front.
You know, the hyper masculinity, which is so toxic and terrible, and it's like you can't cry, you can't show your weakness, you can't be vulnerable, and for male victims of sexual assault, that destroys them.
Yeah. A lot of times they won't seek help because it is such a perceived as shameful thing. It's seen as weakness, and that means that they don't get the help that they need. They aren't willing to talk to anybody about it. They aren't going to do anything about it. They're just going to let it sit, and that can destroy somebody from the inside.
So a recent study came out that showed that sex education that asked women to talk about their boundaries before having sex actually boosted their confidence and led to lower incidents of sexual assault. Why do you think that would be more effective than instilling fear?
I just think it's just so important to instill in women that we don't have to be polite. It's just like the fact that we will go to any lengths to not upset someone, no matter like what they are doing to us, is just ludicrous, and it's just sad. It makes me so angry. And again, I say this, and like I still do it. Some guy will say something to me, and I'm like, haha, you know what I mean? Like I try, like feel like I have to be like, oh, your joke was funny. It wasn't funny. It made me feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like it's just bananas.
Yeah, and a lot of it also has to do with, since sex is such a weird taboo thing to talk about, a lot of times we don't have the vocabulary to process what we're experiencing. We don't have the comfortability to process what we're experiencing. And so sometimes maybe we find ourselves at that awkward gray area, especially as teenagers. Like, you're 15, 16, 17, and you're just discovering this thing called sex, and everyone says it's the greatest, but you don't really know a whole lot about it. So if we can find a way to talk about sex in a place that isn't about sex. I think that does wonders because it removes the stigma, it makes it less taboo, it lets us be more willing to talk to each other about what we like and what we don't like. And I think that's hugely important.
Otherwise, they'll like get educated through porn, which is what we don't want.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. So how can we build a culture of looking out for one another rather than a culture of fear?
As far as ways we can help each other in the community, one is don't be afraid to listen. It may be uncomfortable, but listen. I think that's one of the most important things we can do is see where people are coming from and don't necessarily succumb to the need to help, but just be there, be a set of ears. Let them express themselves as necessary.
You were all so vulnerable today. Thank you for lending your voice to this very difficult topic. I think that we kind of deconstructed rape culture like a smidge. Yes. Thank you for watching. This was another episode of Engage by Uplift. Till next time. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to answer our call to action using the hashtag EngageUplift on social media or in the comments down below. And while you're at it, why not subscribe? Thanks again. I'm Kat Lazo of the Cat's Meow. Till next time.